For my presentation, I will be talking about postural restoration, what it is, how it affects our everyday and athletic life, and its importance in the grand scheme of life. To begin, I will discuss what postural restoration actually is. According to the Postural Restoration Institute located here in Lincoln, the human body is not at all symmetrical. As quoted by one of their founders, the human body is balanced through integration of system imbalances. For example, the heart is on the left side, but the liver is on the right. You don't have two hearts and you don't have two livers. You may look symmetrical on the outside, but on the inside, it's a system of imbalances that balances the body. As another example of that, the left lung is actually a little smaller than the right lung. This is to compensate for the heart's function on the left side. This raises an interesting question. If the body is asymmetrically balanced, what need is there for postural restoration? And the answer to that is humans are flawed, and there is misuse and muscle imbalances. I will describe some of these situations later, but for now, postural restoration is defined as fixing the body to be symmetrically asymmetrical, or basically getting the muscles and joints back to their neutral and natural positions. Ron Hureska, one of the founders of the Postural Restoration Institute, defines postural restoration as having to do with posture habits, or how the body learns to naturally move and stabilize based on tendencies and norms. Additionally, two other authors, Komoretsky and Nidelsky, define postural restoration as having to do with performance-related effects of posture, adaptations to movement, and asymmetries in biomechanical efficiency. Basically, Ron Hureska and the two other authors are saying the same thing. The body learns to adapt based on tendencies and movement. The body, in essence, is a master at adaptation and compensation. Now let's take a closer look at an everyday example that relates to most people in this world. Most people, according to Ron Hureska and his research, do not even stand correctly or with good body balance. Most people are right-handed. Most people don't even realize that they are shifting to the right, but this natural and repeated shifting is then learned by the body, and it becomes the normal or the adaptation. This can have very serious and bad effects on our system as a whole. Let us consider an example of this natural postural shifting. We can see this in the very famous Michelangelo statue of David. It provides a perfect model of how most people train their bodies to stand naturally. As you can see on this statue, the center of gravity is shifted and most of the weight is on the right leg. This sets the left leg forward or ahead and tilts the pelvis down. Up on the torso, you can see that the right shoulder drops below the symmetry line, which causes the left side of the rib cage to flare and tilt up. While this might become a comfortable position, it can have detrimental effects on posture. As a result, the intercostal, pectoral, and neck muscles begin to compensate to hold up the diaphragm or the torso instead of having the major back muscles do their normal job. This results in tensions and overuse of the small muscle groups, which can lead to pain in the neck and back region. Not only does postural restoration affect everyday activities, but it has a great deal to do with athletics. In athletics, there are a variety of different muscle imbalances and misuses. Today, we're going to talk about a very common one, mismatched forces. A great example of this is in baseball. Consider a baseball pitcher. Many times pitchers overtrain arm and torso muscles on the anterior or front side of the body. They focus on training the front of the shoulder, chest, and upper arms and midsection. They neglect the muscles that help stabilize the forward throwing motion of a pitch. Examples of these muscles include the rear of the shoulder, the rotator cuff, and the middle and upper back. Another example of mismatched forces is in the lower part of the body. Many athletes suffer from an anteriorly tilted pelvis. This results in a couple of different issues. The first one being the hamstrings are over-lengthened and overstretched and become tight. Because of the hamstrings, The quadriceps and the hip flexors are then shortened, throwing the muscles out of balance even more. The key of this is the incorrect alignment of the pelvic region. This incorrect pelvis orientation causes some muscle groups, the hip flexors and the quads, to compensate for the overworked and overstretched hamstrings. This is where the importance of postural restoration comes into place. As with the case of the athletes, mismatched forces greatly increase the risk of injury due to some muscle groups being overworked, as in the case of the hamstrings, some muscle groups being neglected, as in the baseball example, and some smaller muscle groups, the intercostal, pectoral, and neck muscles, to give an example, compensating for doing the job of the larger back muscles, in the Michelangelo standing position example. So why then is postural restoration so vitally important for athletes? What's the benefit? Correct posture and muscle function can improve athletic performance and reduce risk of injury. Komaretsky and Nadelsky quote that, "When mechanical forces are disrupted, performance will be less than optimal. Imbalances in strength, mismatched forces, inappropriate actions of assistance muscle contractions, and excessive actions of opposing muscle contractions cause such disruptions in the biomechanics of the body." In this, they are basically saying that incorrect posture and muscle function lead to major disruptions in how our body operates athletically. Additionally, postural restoration is vitally important in everyday life. Consider the statue example. The simple act of not standing with good posture causes some disruptions in body system function. For example, bad posture has been linked to chronic stress, which leads to an increased risk of diabetes, coronary heart disease, dementia, stroke, and sometimes even death. So many cases of chronic pain could be fixed at a baseline level if posture during everyday activities was corrected. One last physiological benefit to postural restoration and keeping the body in its natural and neutral position is that it lowers your blood pressure, and it has been shown to help you sleep better. The simple act of realigning your body to function in its natural position has limitless value. It can prevent injuries, reduce pain, and enhance athletic performance. If nothing else, postural restoration has the ability to change the way you feel physically and to improve your quality of life. Postural restoration is needed due to the human body's need for balance and its tendency to shift away from this asymmetrical neutrality.